For 15 years, running AI on a GPU meant one word: CUDA. NVIDIA software welded to NVIDIA chips. No green card, no local AI. That was the whole rule. That rule just broke. You can now run local AI on almost any GPU. AMD, Intel, Apple, even the graphics baked into a cheap laptop. No CUDA, no NVIDIA Tax. And on some hardware, the free path is now the faster one. Two things are draining the moat. Vulkan lets you run models today. Mojo lets you build them without CUDA at all. And here's the tell that this is real. In June, Qualcomm paid nearly $4 billion for the company behind Mojo. Hold on to that number. First, the villain. CUDA is the language you use to talk to an NVIDIA GPU, the layer that turns your code into thousands of tiny operations the chip runs in parallel. Every serious AI framework sits on top of it. PyTorch, TensorFlow, JAX, VLLM. Scratch any of them and you hit CUDA underneath. The trouble is not CUDA itself. It is genuinely good software. The trouble is it only runs on NVIDIA. 15 years of the world's AI code got quietly welded to exactly one company's hardware. The industry even has a name for this: the CUDA moat. It is a huge part of why NVIDIA became the most valuable company on the planet. The chips are fast, sure, but the real lock is the software. For people running models at home, that moat meant a very short menu. You want local AI? Buy NVIDIA. Your AMD card, your Intel card, the perfectly capable GPU already in your machine, not invited. And that is a little insane, because a modern AMD or Intel GPU has plenty of raw muscle, often more memory per dollar. It was never a hardware problem. It was a software wall, built and maintained on purpose. The first answer comes from video games. It is a graphics API called Vulkan, an open standard for driving a GPU designed so a game could run on any card from any vendor. NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, Apple, every one of them supports it. That universal reach is the entire trick, because a GPU crunching matrix math to light up a game world is doing the exact same math a language model needs. Same silicon, same operations, just pointed at tokens instead of triangles. The tool that tied it together is llama.cpp, the small, ferocious engine that quietly runs most local AI on Earth. It speaks every GPU dialect: CUDA for NVIDIA, ROCm for AMD, Metal for Apple, SYCL for Intel. But the backend that actually broke it open is the one that belongs to nobody and works on everybody: Vulkan. Quick literacy check. Tokens per second is how fast the model spits out words. Anything above 10 is faster than you can comfortably read. So when I say 190, picture text arriving quicker than your eyes can keep up. One Vulkan build runs on all those GPUs. No 4GB vendor toolkit. No weekend fighting driver versions. You download one binary, point it at whatever card you own, and it starts generating. Now the receipts. AMD's 7900 XTX on Vulkan pushes about 190 tokens a second. No ROCm install, just the graphics driver you already have. Faster than a lot of paid cloud experiences out of a gaming card with zero NVIDIA involved. And here's the line that made me rerun the numbers. On that same AMD card, Vulkan is faster than ROCm, AMD's own official AI stack. The open vendor-neutral path beat the vendor at its own game on its own hardware. On AMD's newest laptop chip, Strix Halo, Vulkan runs about 20% faster than ROCm and steadier. Intel's Arc cards run models perfectly well. A Budget B 580 does around 70 tokens a second. Apple Silicon walks in through Molten VK, and an M3 Ultra clears 115. Notice there has not been a single NVIDIA card in the last 4 examples. Even the little GPU baked into a Ryzen chip will run a 7 billion model at comfortable reading speed. 2 years ago, that was a joke. Now it is a Tuesday. Honest catch. At the very top end, raw CUDA is still faster. A 5090 on CUDA does about 290 tokens a second. On Vulkan, around 260. NVIDIA still wins the drag race. But look at what the fight even is now. It went from NVIDIA is the only option to NVIDIA is a bit faster if you buy the flagship. That is a monopoly collapsing into a preference. That is road 1. Road 2 is more ambitious. Instead of routing around CUDA, it rebuilds what CUDA does. That road is a language called Mojo. Mojo comes from Modular, founded by Chris Lattner. He built Swift and LLVM. He is not a tourist. The pitch is gloriously greedy. Write code that reads like Python but runs at the speed of hand-tuned C++ right on the GPU. And one Mojo kernel compiles down to whatever GPU is in front of it. NVIDIA, AMD, does not matter. You write the math once. The compiler emits the right machine code for each vendor at build time. Modular pulled off the thing the industry kept insisting was impossible. One container, the same code, deployed on AMD data center GPUs and NVIDIA data center GPUs with 0 changes. On AMD's MI300X, their serving stack ran up to 50% more throughput than VLLM on real models. On another AMD chip, it matched NVIDIA's H200 token for token. Same output, cheaper silicon, no lock-in. Then they open-sourced it. Hundreds of thousands of lines of production GPU kernel code, free to read and fork. CUDA is a black box you rent. This is the same class of software handed to you with the hood up. Now, the moment that made me want to make this video. NVIDIA has a library called CUDA, the crown jewels. Brutally hand-tuned CUDA, written by NVIDIA's own experts, for NVIDIA's newest chips. The received wisdom is simple. Nobody outcodes NVIDIA on NVIDIA hardware. Modular took one of those elite kernels and rewrote it in Mojo, not on AMD, but on NVIDIA's own B200 flagship. Head-to-head with CUDA on the one battlefield CUDA is supposed to own outright. The number that came back was 130 teraflops, dead level with NVIDIA's own hand-tuned kernel, matched on the exact chip CUDA was designed to run, and it took about 770 lines of Mojo. The CUDA version, roughly 3,000. Same speed, a quarter of the code. That is not a moral victory. That is walking onto someone's home court and playing cleaner than the home team, which drags us back to the $4 billion. Qualcomm does not make NVIDIA GPUs. They make the chip in your phone. They just paid $4 billion for a software layer whose entire purpose is running AI on anything that is not locked to CUDA. When a hardware giant spends that kind of money to make CUDA optional, you are watching the smart money place its bet in public. CUDA still wins today. 15-year head start, 1 million tutorials, every library tuned for it first. Mojo is young. Vulkan still trails at the very top end. None of that is the point. The point is that the door is finally open. A year ago, there was one road out, and it ran straight through NVIDIA's gate. Now there are 3, and 2 of them never stop to ask permission. If you own an AMD card, an Intel Arc, a Mac, or a gaming laptop gathering dust, you can run serious local AI tonight, for free, on hardware you already own. You already have the ticket. Nobody told you the gate was open. Here's the move. Download LM Studio. Switch the runtime to Vulkan in the settings. Load a small model file. 15 minutes, $0, no account. And you will watch a GPU that some spec sheet swore was unsupported light up and start thinking in front of you. The CUDA moat is not gone, but for the first time in 15 years, it is just a moat, not a wall. The water is draining, you can see the far bank, and the crossing is finally open to anyone who wants it. I would start walking.